that being said, without the coach, I would have never ever done 18 deals in 12 months. There's absolutely no way. I would have been scared, like out of my pants.
So everyone, thank you for joining us. This is another Wednesday webinar where we are looking at the possibilities of investing in real estate. And at the end of the day, all we're thinking is success and a lot of success. So it's important that we cover many things such as skills, learning materials, using other people's experience. And that's the goal for this webinar. This is February the 3rd, 2021. And we are at the beginning of 2021. So God knows what we have ahead of us. But if you keep your mind sharp and always ready to go, you're going to have a very successful and predictable year ahead of you. My name is Ashton Ekbatani. I'm in real estate for almost 20 years, investing in real estate. I am the founder of this group, and I'm coach and author of many books. One of them is the Investors in Real Estate. I'm going to show you where you can get a copy of it if you're interested. And the goal of this team or this webinar here is to is to get inspired and get inspired by the people who are coming and joining us on this webinar and get encouraged. Also to build learning things that are important, the mistakes that many of us did. So you learn from those mistakes as well. And these are all like putting the blocks of your portfolio together, not repeating the same error mistakes that we did. Also learning the strategies, which is very important in real estate investment. We are here to help others. So if there's anything I can do, I do all my best. You can, many of you calling me after hours and ask me different questions. And we invite people to come alongside with us. Today we have Lyn coming us, and she has a ton of experience in this field. So these are the help we get from other people as well. And we're going to repeat the same thing through the process of learning. We have to learn all the time. Remember, many of this law we have in our society is changing. The things we are facing today, we never had it 30 years ago. So the things are changing. And if you are associated with like-minded people, you always stay motivated, and you need continuously to have a source of inspiration, and you continue building. So what we have around us is we are bombarded by media, news, friends, etc., that can shape our direction. Many people that I come across every single day, they said, yeah, we were around the barbecue side talking. Other friends said it's nothing but trouble. You don't want to deal with tenants, etc. You know what? 5 years ago, I never got into real estate investment, and now I'm regretted. And so we are here to really rely on the facts, on the planning, on decision making, and have a clear and solid path ahead of us. You cannot be a successful real estate investor by luck. Here is some of you, they know that I have a YouTube channel. There are a ton of clips, videos regarding real estate investment, just name it. I think over 100 videos in there. You can go, and these are free. But please subscribe to my channel, because every few days or weeks, there's new things that's coming up, and it's good for you to know about it. Here's the book that I wrote many books, actually. I wrote a total of 12 books. Many of them are children books, but 2 adults, and in the middle of writing another few. That's my passion, to write. But, you know, I don't have much time. So I have to wake up at 5:30 every morning and put my pen on the paper and do something, because that's my passion. So Successful Real Estate Investors is one of the books that I wrote, specifically full of strategies for investors. Doesn't matter what step of investment you are, it is good for everybody. Usually at the beginning of every webinar, I come with housing market. Today, I'm not going to cover much of it. The market, I possibly going to bring it up next week in more details, but quickly referring to some of the interesting news I heard today. They said the most affordable cities right now as we speak in Ontario are Thunder Bay, Sudbury, and Windsor, Ontario, and I 100% agree with that one. There are 3 more cities that is expensive, and here they are. Hamilton, surprisingly, it went up crazy. And it's always like that. Whenever the price is low, all the investors going towards that direction, and it would fill it up, would bring it up. Now, Hamilton's, it was very, very low and was attracting a lot of people. I remember when the price was around 250, and a ton of investors went there and start flipping, etc. Oakfield, of course, you know that. Greater Toronto area, you do not want to, I do not invest in real estate in Toronto. It's very expensive. The property I get for my money is not as much as if I go to, let's say, Milton or Barrie. I can get a better home there. Rent is very affordable. Today we have the BRRRR strategy, and make your first $1 million with real estate. I invited our special guest today here is Lyn Lebeau. She's a real estate investor for many years. She is coaching. She is the BRRRR strategy expert. She's the author of a book, No Money, No Problem. Make your first $1 million with real estate. Without further ado, here is Lyn Lebeau. Hi, Lyn.
Hi.
You have your voice here. So I want to say, first of all, thank you for joining us to this team. There are many people that are coming to listen to you, to listen to your story. So at the beginning of every webinar conversation or interview with my guests, I ask them, tell us a little bit what you do, who you are, where you started. Tell us your story. And that's going to be a source of inspiration for so many people. Some of the people came online, they have very, very little experience. So they need to know that, like my story, I started, of course, I didn't know real estate investment. So I had to start from somewhere. So when I started, I had no idea what to do. I was actually for months and months, I was paralyzed. Am I doing the right thing? Is it the right home? Is it the right place? What about if the tenant comes, destroy my house, doesn't pay rent, etc.? So tell us your story, and here you go. Platform is all yours.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And thanks for having me. So yeah, so my story begins with in 2008, where I had an old friend of mine who I left my hometown when I was 20 years old, and this old friend.
Lyn, sorry, can you share the screen with me so you're going to come up as a full page?
Share screen.
Yeah, do you know how to do it? Oh, I have you here. Perfect. Go on.
Okay.
You're full screen.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so are you seeing my whole screen, or are you seeing just?
No, you're perfect. I see you perfect.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so so my story starts in 2008, where an old friend of mine from high school, we were not great kids, let's just say, and I left Timmins, where I grew up, and straightened out my act. But my old friend hadn't straightened out his act and kind of went down the wrong path. And every so often he would give me a call and he would be looking for business advice. So I always answered my phone because I kept thinking, if I can just help him out and figure out things, then maybe he'll straighten out his own life. And so he was actually my best friend through high school. And anyway, so this one day he calls me up, and it was, I believe it was a Saturday night, and I was having a glass of wine with my husband. And so he called me for some business advice, and he was asking me about this property he wanted to purchase. And so, but he didn't have any money. And so he was going to be going into business with this fella that he knew. And I asked him how well he knew this guy. And he told me, he said he knew him okay, somewhat, and that, but that he was pretty sketchy. And so I asked him, I said, well, why would you go in business with somebody that is, that you're not trusting? And so I said, well, why aren't you asking me for some money for this? And anyways, he says, well, really, you would do that? And I said, well, possibly. And so my intent was really to help him get back on the right path and to be able to straighten out his life. So really giving him some work. So my intention with this, after I went to look at the property, was that I was going to give him a job. And so he had to stay on the straight and narrow, no illegal activities. And this was my way of helping him clean up his life. And so what happened then was we purchased the first property. And what I did is I put it under my personal name, and I was going to give him 50%. I was giving him 50% of my after-tax dollars. So I would put it on my personal taxes, and he would get 50%. So we bought the first property. This one was, it was a great deal. He had found this property. It was $49,000. It had, the front unit had 4 rooms for rent. It had, and then it had a main floor 2-bedroom apartment, a basement 1-bedroom apartment. It had a back house that had 2-unit apartments. And so it was bringing in $4,500, approximately $4,500 per month in revenue. So, so that was pretty great. And given, we only paid $49,000 for it, and it had some work to be done on it. So he was doing the work and so on, and collecting the rents and all of that. And so after the first one, he found, about a year later, he found a second one. So he found a 6-plex for $40,000. And this one here, I've put in it since about $40,000 in repairs, and it was evaluated. It came up at, it was appraised at $235,000. So these were our 2 first ones. And the next thing you knew, something came up on TV. I was watching the local news back in, so that was 2008, 2009, so it would have been probably 2010. I was watching the news, and I saw something come up, and I thought, okay, this had better not be him. And so lo and behold, something really peddly for like something that he was going to make $200 over. And he ended up losing his whole side of the bargain because it was some illegal activity. And I thought, okay, I cannot be associated with anybody who's doing illegal stuff. So that ended that. And so basically now I had 2 properties, and I thought, well, what the heck am I going to do with that? Right. I really wanted nothing to do with real estate, and managed to find somebody to, in the area to manage my properties, because I didn't live there. So I live 3 hours away from where I was investing and where I still invest. And so a few years go by. So now we're 2012. And so at this point, I was working for a company that was on the verge of bankruptcy. And I had calculated, I'm a chartered accountant, so CPA, CA. And so I was looking at the numbers for the company, and I thought, okay, the company's got 12 months and it's going to be bankrupt. And after that, so the CEO was making some very bad decisions. It was just, the board of directors wasn't getting rid of the CEO. So if things didn't turn around, there were only 12 months before I would be out of a job. So I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? I need to replace my income. I made 6 figures as an executive. And so I had to figure out how to replace 6 figures. And I didn't have access to a whole lot of money. So I managed to get some credit lines. So I managed to get it was around $100,000 worth of credit lines to be able to do something with. So I thought, okay, do I look at a franchise? Not enough money to invest to be able to make that happen. And so I looked at a few different options. Do I open my own business? Well, I think it's 90% of the businesses don't make it. They fail. So I thought, well, that probably isn't a great idea. And I was driving to the place where I invest. All of a sudden the light bulb went on, right? So I had my light bulb moment where I thought, well, okay, just do more of this, right? Do more real estate, so, you've got these 2 properties that you've managed to, purchase for very little and that are bringing in this, decent revenue. So I started off, so on my way back home, after I had gone and checked up on my properties, I thought, well, okay, I know nothing about real estate. What the heck am I going to do? How am I going to, I need speed. I need to do this fast, but I'm afraid of what I don't know. So I ended up hiring a coach and going through a coaching program and stuff. And so when I did that, right after I had my initial sessions, that's when I went full speed ahead. So what I did was I closed on 18 deals within 12 months within that period. Every time taking into account, putting it in my spreadsheet, where am I at? Because I knew I had to get to that $100,000 plus with real estate to be able to replace my income. So that's basically how I got started, and how so that period, the 12-month period, would have been in 2012 2013. So I'm still investing today, but that would have been my big year, definitely.
Good. I enjoy this story. Now, you got 18 deals in 12 months. Now, were any moment where you were continuing investing that was scary? What am I doing? Am I buying the right thing? Listen, this house is in bad shape. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, no, definitely some scary times. So luckily for me, the scariest times were after I had been investing for a little while. So had some of these things happen to me right in the beginning, that would have probably had me doubt myself, stop investing. It's so yeah, I definitely have some stories, but I can share one of those stories with you if you'd like, if that's what you're looking for.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have this tenant. Well, I purchased this property. This one was probably, I don't know, maybe just a few years ago. I'm going to say about just over 2 years ago, and I bought it for. I bought this property. It was a front house, has 2 units, and the back house, there was a back house which was a single family dwelling. And so I bought that for $15,500. So I had watched it on the market go down and down and down because it was in such rough state. But I had actually seen the property when it first went on the market. And so I had managed to get into all of the units at that particular time. And I had the fella in the back house. I was told from the front house that he had some mental issues and stuff. And so when I went, and they didn't think he would open the door for me, but I managed to convince him to open the door, and walked inside, and I could see that the place was really in major disrepair. It was a tear down. And so this one here, we had, we were evicting. So we were evicting all of the tenants for non-payment of rent. And luckily for me, I did have that expertise, right? Where I had gained a lot of knowledge over the course of the years, being in the business for over 10 years at the time. So I knew that I'd probably have to evict all the tenants. And so the first ones to evict were the basement and the back house. Now, when I did that, we were there. I decided I was going to meet up with the sheriff, because I was really concerned about the fellow in the back house, because I knew he would not understand what was happening. And so what we did is, so I met the sheriff. He went and evicted the people from the basement, and that took a little bit of time. And so finally, when it was time for the fellow in the back house, we went back there, and I went with him because I wanted to meet with the fella. And so he came in on his bicycle, wearing what looked like more of a hockey helmet and on his head. And so so when we were trying to explain to him that he had to move out because he was being evicted, when the sheriff was trying to explain to him, he did not understand. And so the sheriff then understood why I was concerned with throwing out this, putting this tenant on the street for non-payment of rent when he's not understanding. So we tried calling the police. The police tried calling an ambulance. No, it started with the ambulance. The ambulance ended up calling the police. The police stayed there for hours trying to find him some help. And then finally, he ended up, he still didn't understand that he was getting kicked out, but they all said they couldn't help him, and that, because he was coherent, because he knew he lived there, he knew his name, and he knew his date of birth. And these were the 3 deciding factors as to whether or not he was, you know, they could help him or force him to come to the hospital or some other shelter or something, and they couldn't. So, so finally, I told the sheriff, I said, you know what, I have a vacant 1-bedroom unit, and you know, the place that he was living in, like I said, it was a tear down. It was really bad. It was like somebody made a house, like took a shed and sitting on railroad tiles and put a kitchen and a bathroom in there and threw somebody in to live in there. It was really awful. So they, so finally, I told the sheriff, you know, maybe I'll just put him in my vacant unit. And he's like, hey, really? You would do that? He says, this guy is being evicted for not paying his rent and you're going to put him somewhere else, you know, in one of your own places. And I said, well, I can't leave him on the streets like this. It's not right. And so he, so the police officer, I told finally, they were running out of options. They were about to leave. And I said, look, if you can contact the Ontario Disability and have them agree to pay me direct, I will move him into my unit. And so anyways, so she called them up. We managed to get the agreement. The lady said, I can't give it to you this month because it's like we were right a couple of days before. And anyway, so then I ended up, so we agreed on it. But the thing was, he now had to agree to come and see the unit, and he didn't want to go see it. He's like, no, I live here. So anyways, we ended up, I managed to get him in my car. I managed to bring him to the unit, and I showed him, look, there's lights, these work, there's like, look, there's water, the water works, look around, there's no leaks in this place, you know, you're going to be fine. So then I asked him, I said, well, okay, let's go get you a few pieces, you know, maybe your mattress and a few things. And he says, well, I don't have a mattress. And I asked, well, what do you mean you don't have a mattress? And he said, where do you sleep? He says, well, I don't sleep. And I thought, oh my goodness, okay. So we end up driving back to the place. And so he had agreed to move there finally. But this is like over the course of several hours now, where I'm talking about, we started off the eviction process at 2:30 and we're now 6:30 at night. And I don't even live there. I've got to go back home, right? So anyway, so I ended up, I ended up going with him to pick up some certain supplies. I had some of my staff meet me there, and the greatest thing happened. It was unbelievable because he goes in and he's looking through papers on top of his fridge, and the paperwork, you know, he's going, I got to pay my rent. And so finally he pulls out this piece of paper and he says, look, I have to pay this. This is my rent. And it was actually the paperwork from the landlord tenant board saying what he had to pay. And so, so anyways, I said, well, okay, yes, but do you have money? And he says, yeah, I do. And I'm thinking, okay, he probably has $50 or something, you know, who knows? So he goes into this corner and he's got this, so I'm standing at the corner, like I'm standing just outside the bedroom, and I could see he's bent over doing something. And I'm going, what in the world is he doing? And so anyway, so here he is, he pulls out some money. Well, he asked me, he says, how much do I owe? So anyway, so I punched it on my tablet. So I told him, okay, this is what you owe. Pulls out a load of $100 bills and he starts counting them. And up, you know, for the amount that he owes, and he gives it to me. And then he says, so then he puts the rest away. And then he says, okay, so now what do he says, well, I have to pay first and last. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm surprised he even knows this stuff, right? So anyways, and I said, yeah, you should be paying first and last. And so what does he do? He goes back to this little thing. He says, well, how much do I owe you for that? And I told him how much, and goes back and he counts his $100 bills again there, and he pulls a 50 from somewhere else and he gives it to me. And I thought, okay, you had all this money. Why didn't you pay your rent? And his story was that he was waiting for the landlord to come because he didn't know me or my staff. He was waiting for the landlord to come because the previous landlord had lost it to the bank. And so the previous landlord didn't show up for 2 years while this was, you know, this was going through the bank repo and all of that stuff. So now, so that was a fabulous outcome, except for the tenant on the main floor, this place is on Elm Street, and the guy's name is Freddie. So I call it my nightmare on Elm Street with Freddie. And so anyways, so this guy here ended up, he he didn't pay his hydro, so his hydro got cut off. Then he's got tons. Anyway, he was paying only half of his rent. At first he wasn't paying any rent, then he paid half. And so it went through courts. It took an entire year to get him out. Now, that being said, now he's actually suing me for $20,000 because he's saying that I left him without hydro, without heat, which is not true. Now I'm having to get a paralegal to get involved. And of course he's getting free legal advice. And anyways, so yeah. So I mean, there's, the whole story, there's like a good part of it, the things that worked out really well. The tenant that I moved into, my 1-bedroom unit, is still there, but then there's the horror story with this guy now taking me to court for $20,000 for false accusations that I now have to defend, right? So
thankfully you don't have this experience every single day, otherwise you will stay.
You got it, that's right.
Lyn, where do you invest right now, or where are your homes, generally speaking?
So I live in Sudbury, but I invest in Timmins, Ontario, Northern Ontario.
Yeah. All of your properties there?
Yeah, all of my properties are currently there. I'm looking at diversifying now, and I'm looking at getting into larger buildings. So whether they may be in Timmins, they may be elsewhere, but I'm looking in Sudbury and in Northern Ontario.
Okay, you started around 2008. Do you still see opportunities in Timmins in terms of price? And
yeah, absolutely. I still buy, and so I've got. I bought that one for $15,500 about 2 years ago. I purchased another property for $50,000. We put about 40 into it, and it appraised. I believe it was about 150. I bought another one for $22,000. And we put again another about 40,000 into it, and it appraised at I want to say 120 or 130, around there. I just bought another one. We just closed in December, and that one there I purchased it for $50,000, and we're going to put we're going to be at about $40,000 into it. So all in for 90, it's going to appraise probably at around 140, 150.
Good. Lyn, we're here to learn from you. So I ask you up front, how do you get the money for all these properties? We're here to learn from you.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I'm very happy to share.
I appreciate that.
So yeah, like I said earlier, I started off, all I had was $100,000 of the bank's money to invest, right? The credit lines. So I started off with the credit lines, and so I purchased the first 2 properties I had purchased with my credit lines in cash, and then when I got to 2012-13, where I needed to close on 18 deals in 12 months, then I started off. I had my credit line, so I had access to about 100,000 again, and I used that to be able to, so I had a home equity line of credit. Okay. So with the home equity line of credit, you can actually use that for your down payment. And so then I had my other credit line that was not a home equity, just one that's not secured. And I was able to use that in order to be able to do repairs on the properties. Right. So that's what I would do. I would purchase, I purchased my first property, and it was, my third property, but my first within that 12 months. And that one was $120,000. And so I was able to use my home equity for the down, and that one didn't need any repairs. And then I went to the second property and third property, and I was able to do the same thing. Now, once I ran out of the bank's money to do this, then I looked at the other properties that I had paid cash for back in 2008, 2009, and was able to get some mortgages on those, although I ran into some issues along the way, but it took a little while, but I managed to get some equity out of those properties. And so looking at whatever you currently own. So if you own your home and you're not capped out, you know, if you don't have a mortgage that's at 8%, then you can go to the bank and borrow against your home to be able to in turn invest in more properties or invest in some properties. So that's the main thing to look at. So if you're not sitting on a load of cash, like I was, you know, I wasn't sitting on a bunch of cash. I had none. I had some RRSPs, but I was making 6 figures. So if I cashed those out, I would only get to keep 50%. So I didn't want to do that. And I didn't have that much of it anyway. So there wasn't much point in doing that at the time. And so that's what I looked at, was really using the bank's money to do all of my deals, none of my own money.
Sounds good.
So that, yeah, so that's basically what I did. And then so borrowed against more properties. And then I would, so I call it my 2 strategy combo. It's now known as the BRRRR strategy. It was funny because when I wrote my book, it took me a little while to write my book, and I was really consumed in writing it. And so I didn't have time to read anything. And once I was all done and I sent it to the editor, I decided, well, okay, what's going on in the real estate world today? So I decided to pick up a real estate book. And the first one that I picked up was actually on the BRRRR strategy. So I started to laugh because I'm going, okay, I just wrote this whole, you know, strategy combo, which is exactly, you know, it's the BRRRR strategy, right? Exactly. So yeah, so we just basically, a lot of the properties that I have, not all of them, because there weren't enough properties available in Timmins to just do the BRRRR strategy, right? Or my 2 strategy combo. So what I did was I mixed it up. So I had some that were totally rented and, you know, and I would look for a certain cap rate. So I would look for, at first I thought, well, okay, so 8% cap rate is fine, you know, that's pretty good. But then I came to realize that I could actually get way better than that. So then I upped it to, okay, I'm not buying anything that's tenanted that is less than 13% cap rate. And so I would calculate everything every time that I would, every time a new listing would come out, I would quickly analyze it. You know, I would take like 2 minutes to analyze it and decide if I was putting in an offer. And what I was doing in order to get those best deals, one of my big secrets was that I would put in blind offers. So I wouldn't put in, I wouldn't go see the property. I didn't have time to go see the properties. I was working for, the company I was working for that was on the verge of bankruptcy, ended up, they got rid of the CEO, they got rid of the COO, and they brought in an external consultant who was an expert in bankruptcies. And so she ended up putting me as, she found out about me. I had a presentation that I had done, and she had asked, well, who is this person who just did this presentation? And so she contacted me and we had a chat about, you know, she says, well, do you know how to fix this? And I said, well, yeah, I do. I know how to fix it, but, you know, I just haven't had nobody's given me the opportunity to go out and fix it. And she says, got back to me a couple of weeks later and told me, she says, okay, you're now in charge of the operational turnaround. I'll take care of the vendors and the banks and all of that stuff. But you know, you're taking care of the operational turnaround of the organization of Ontario. And so it had multiple sites across Canada. And anyway, so I was so that's what I was doing. I was going across Ontario and then across Canada, doing this massive turnaround, working very, very long hours. And so I was on the road all the time. So I couldn't go and see properties before purchasing them. So that was my strategy, was really looking for those properties. And as soon as I saw a good deal, what I thought might be a good deal, I would put a blind offer and put, you know, a couple of conditions to be able to get myself out of the deal if I needed to. And yeah, so that's all, you know, all of these deals, right?
We call escape clause. Lyn, by the way, anyone in the audience, if you have any question you want to type in the chat, go ahead, or just open up your speaker and ask. I have a few questions for you. What you said remind me of the story where I started. Having access to money is not always an issue for anyone. What you need is having faith and courage. You might have money, you can sit. I always use the example of swimming, learning swimming. You can stay on the side of the swimming pool and learn as much as you want. You can hire the best coach, but not get into the swimming pool and start swimming. It's worth nothing unless you jump in. And for jumping in, you need faith and you need courage. So what I always encourage here is to have knowledge and to have a strong why or a strong vision that can eventually push you. And as you all know, a vision or goal should have a deadline with it. So if you stand up on the side of the pool, say, okay, I learned how to swim and I know everything, and your time is passing by. I said, hello, wake up. It's time to purchase your first property or second one. And that's very true, the story that you told us. I really appreciate that. One of our audience here is asking, can you tell us what is the meaning of BRRRR? BRRRR?
Yeah, so you buy, you rehab, right? You fix it up, and then you rent it out, and you refinance. So you get it financed, right? You get a mortgage on it, and then you repeat. So that's the definition of BRRRR. So the repeat is you just do it over again, right? You find your next property, you do it again, and
Excellent.
add to that.
Yeah, no, that's great. What is the growth rate in Timmins? Is it, can I say it's between 2 to 4% per year growth?
No, so Timmins has been very, very stagnant. It's so population has been at 45,000 like forever. It actually dropped to 43,000 a couple of years ago, but then we started attracting a lot of students. There's a couple of colleges up there, and so there's a lot of students that are coming in from India. So although they're not, so they're not listed on, like when they say 43,000, they don't have the students that are coming in because they're not Canadian residents, right?
Yeah.
So that's brought up. I find that since that's been happening, they've been getting more and more students from, international students. So that has been pushing the rental prices up.
Okay. So referring to your book, the title, I'm going to go step by step here. It said no money, no problem. So based on what you said, no money, no problem means we all have access to some kind of money, whether it is a home equity line of credit or a cousin brothers, they have extra money sitting aside, or your RSP. These are the money that you can always maximize the use of it and start buying your properties. All right.
Absolutely, yes. Now, for myself, once I got to a certain point, like I said, I had access to $100,000, right? So, and then I managed to get some. At some point, I managed to pull some money out of the other properties that I already had, and of course my personal residence, which was part of the $100,000. And so, but then at one point I ran out of money. I think it was before I refinanced the other two, I think. But yeah, so I had run out of money, but I had 3 or 4 deals on the table, and I couldn't close on all of them. So the bank was supposed to be financing one of my properties and advancing some funds towards one of my properties. And it was a credit union. And afterwards, there was a misunderstanding. She didn't end up doing it. And so I had just bought the property for $35,000 and I had to put $55,000 into it. And which she was supposed to advance part of the money, and which never happened. So I was going to be closing on these other deals, but then I ran out of cash because of that. And so I had a few people that had been knocking at my door for a number, for a while, saying, okay, I want into this. And I said, they would wanted to give me their money, but I said, well, I don't need your money. Why would I give away 50% when I don't need to, right? Or whatever the deal would be. And so until I got to that point where I couldn't close on all the deals I had, the great deals I had in front of me. And so this is when I told one of the people, okay, so, if you want in, this is the time, because I've got these deals on the table and I can't close on all of them. So, we structured we did a joint venture partnership. We opened up a separate corporation. And so he came with the money. and for closing, and so that's how we got that one. So we got the next two done like that. Then he ran out of cash because his wife decided that she was opening her own business. So he was investing his money into that. And so there was somebody else that had been knocking at my door for about 6 months saying, okay, how do I get in? And I kept telling him the same thing, right? Why would I give you 50%? I don't need your money. And then finally, there were these extra deals on the table again, and that I couldn't close on because I was out of cash. So I called him up and I said, okay, if you want in, this is the time. You come with the cash, I got the expertise. And so we did a 50-50 split, and we opened up a separate corporation and closed on a few deals with that joint venture partner. And so that's, that worked out really well. So there's no stopping you. If just because you don't have money, if you, like you said, if you've got the knowledge and you know what you're doing, for me, I got myself a coach, right? So my coach, I felt confident. Without the coach, I would have, that being said, without the coach, I would have never, ever done 18 deals in 12 months. There's absolutely no way. I would have been scared, like out of my pants. And so that's really what helped me out. But that coaching gave me the sense of, knowing that I had somebody to go to if I messed anything up, or just to bounce ideas and stuff. And so it was obvious to these people that were coming to me, asking me to get in with me. I was thinking, at first, like I said, I was thinking, okay, why would I give you 50%? But then I'm thinking, okay, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing, right? So if you don't have the money, so, who cares? If you're going to be making money with real estate, who cares if you're giving away 50%, right? You're increasing your net equity. You're increasing your cash flow. And for me, it wasn't even in the beginning, those where I had partners, I would tell them that they would get paid 100% of their money back before I got a single dime. And so that was really attractive to them, right? So giving away 50% to me when they're getting 100% of their money back first, they felt good with that. So these were my first. I don't do things the exact same way anymore, because it's pretty easy to attract joint venture partners now, because I've been doing it for so many years, right? So I've got people that come to me and ask me to just to see if I'd like to joint venture partner, and which I've done a few more of those in more recent years.
So I'm going to read from the chat. So the question I have here, it's asked that who was your coach?
Who was my coach? My coach was Gina. I can't even say her last name.
Is she still in business? Is she still doing investment, or?
Yeah, but she's out of the US. And so I found that the US programs, although she was awesome, don't get me wrong. The US programs are a little bit different. They don't understand our rules in Canada or rules in Ontario, right? So yeah, if you're looking for a coach, I would say that you should probably be looking for somebody. I would try finding somebody that's in depending on where you live. If you live in the US, yeah, maybe it would be wise to get somebody from the US, because maybe a Canadian won't know all of the US presentations. But yeah, somebody from your own country is probably.
I see that very often. That's very true. Down there, they're looking for wholesale. They're looking for bank foreclosure. Bank foreclosure here, like I'm in real estate. I have many of my clients asking me, can we get a bank closure or bank foreclosure or power of sales? Sorry, it's not US, it's different here. So that's not what we go after. And in terms of buy and hold, in a way, that's what you do and I do as well. What I notice here is there are a group of people that are interested in BRRRR, or at the same time, I see the income per month. I personally don't need the income per month because that's going to be taxable for me. So what I'm personally looking is the growth, 5 years, 10 years. So I'm very much professional buy and hold kind of investor. I'm looking at those properties to pay for my retirement. And that's why I enjoy looking at the numbers. And that's why I ask, what is the Timmins rate of growth? Is it 2 to 4%? Here, if you look at GTA, in average, we're looking at 8%, sometimes 12% return per year. And that's very healthy. The current, well, You have a question?
No, go ahead.
Pardon me?
Oh, I said, go ahead.
Yeah. One of the questions I have here is, how do you find a good deal? Is it because of your real estate agent helping you, who's the investor as well?
Yeah, so, okay, so a few things, right? So I do pay for people bringing me great deals. So if somebody brings me a deal that is off market, and I'll use the example, there was a single family dwelling. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bed, 1-bath, small, probably, I don't know, 850, 900 square feet. And the fella, I ended up buying it for $35,000, and I put $8,000 into it. I stepped foot basically in the property just to view it the first time when I gave the guy the money for the property, and that was about it. And so I paid $8,000 for the contractor to fix it, and it was appraised at 120. So that one there, it was somebody was camping, and she had heard that this fellow was wanting to get rid of this property. And so I asked him how much he wanted for it. You know, I asked him how much he owed on it. And so he told me he owed $35,000 and that he just needed it gone. And I thought, okay, well, I'll pay off your loan and we'll be good to go. And so that's how I got that one. So I paid that person $500 for bringing me that deal. So if I close on it, if you bring me the deal and it's off market and I close on it, then, you know, they get $500. So word is on the streets that I buy. People know that I buy properties, and so people bring those to me. So putting the word out. So I put the word out on Facebook so that my friends and family would know that I was doing this, especially given that I was raised in that area. Yeah, so there's that. But the other part of it is what I mentioned earlier about putting in blind offers. The other thing that I do, so I put in a blind offer, but not only do I do that, I only give, especially with rentals, the irrevocable period. If you guys know what that means, it means the seller has to decide by a certain time on a certain day whether or not he's selling it to you. And so I would put, when I would find something that looked like a really good deal with a great cap rate, I would put the irrevocable period for only 24 hours, because I knew that none of the investors, nobody could go and view these properties, because you have to give 24 hours notice to the tenants to be able to do the viewing. So the seller only had that 24 hours to make a decision as to whether or not they would agree to sell me the property. So these are two strategies that I always use. And so sometimes they've got on there that they're not looking at any offers for the next 3 days. So then it's not doable, but most of the time it is.
Well, one of the best strategy I ever used for finding private sellers was you pick the neighborhood you like, the price range, and then handwrite on a piece of paper who you are, you're looking for a property, and make a photocopy, 100, 200 photocopies, whether you give it to Canada Post or you go and door to door and put it in there. And I guarantee someone's going to give you a call to give you a private sell. Now, remember, whether you get it online or private, doesn't matter what, you have to do your due diligence. Don't think because they are coming privately, they are the best in the world. You have to do your due diligence as well. One of the question here is,
Totally.
The question they ask is, let me just go back. I get a lot of questions here. I think I have to take you to maybe 8:15. Is that okay for you, Lyn?
Yes, that's fine, no problem.
Everybody like you here. They said, what tool do you use to organize yourself in terms of having that many deals? Are you using Excel, using any software? What do you do?
Excel, totally.
How do it?
It's my favorite tool in the world.
And how much time do you spend on Excel on a weekly basis, daily basis? How do you do that? Do you need to spend time on your self-automated kind of get the payments, address any issue come up? Is that the way, like take it a day at a time?
Yeah, so yeah, I totally take everything a day at a time. And now, remember that when I was doing this, I was working 80 to 100 hours a week for the company I was working for. in addition to doing all of this. So obviously it was not taking a load of my time. I came up with some strategies to be able to minimize the amount of time I had to work on finding deals and going to look at them and so on. And so that's, so, because really the analysis of the deal, it takes me literally probably less than a minute. So my computer is always open, and wherever I would be, my computer would be on. I leave it running 24/7. So, you know, most people would say you should shut down every so often. Well, they say it's not good for your computer. Well, my computers have lasted forever anyway, so so it hasn't damaged my computers. You know, so then even if I was traveling, I would just shut the lid, throw it in my bag. Sometimes, so I always had my phone, and then if I saw a deal coming up and I was driving, oftentimes I would stop on the side of the street, just open the lid, throw in the numbers, and see what kind of cap rate it gave me. Mm-hmm. And you know, if it looked like a good deal off the get-go, I could eyeball it and say, okay, this looks like it might be good. And so if it did, then that's what I would do. I just stop on the side of the street, take a minute, do it, and then I would just send off an email or either an email or a text to my agent and say, she knew the conditions I wanted. She knew everything I wanted. I would just say, offer 50,000, you know, closing such a date, and that would be it. So, so very little information that I would send her. She would know exactly what to do. She would just send it off to me. I would just print it off, and then wherever I would be, like if I was going to Toronto to that office or whatever, I would find, you know, I would just put it on a stick, give it to one of the receptionists and say, can you print this for me, please? Because I didn't have access to the printers, and you know, get their fax machine and fax it out back in the day. But yeah, I
think you take it a day at a time. Anything comes up, you address it.
Yeah, that's right. That's yeah.
Now,
you just. Yeah.
Someone asked, is there any joint venture structure that you use all the time? Or put it this way, is there any typical things in a joint venture that we should watch or we should absolutely have?
The way that I structure mine, the first few that I did, I did 50-50. So, and, you know, they bring the cash, and the first few that I did, I wasn't that knowledgeable about joint venture partnerships, and just kind of tried to figure out how to get this done. And so that's how I set it up. But then my name was also on the mortgages. Now, my newer joint venture partnerships, I get the other person to apply and be the one on the mortgage. So I keep myself off the mortgage. And so, but we still do the deals 50-50. Things to watch out for. I've had people approach me to do joint venture partnerships and like offering me some decent money to be able to get started. And I just didn't have a really good gut feeling. I didn't know that we would actually work well together. And so I just didn't feel comfortable. And don't accept money from people, you know, that you don't feel comfortable with just because they have deep pockets.
That's very important.
Sure that you can work with these people, that that they're trustworthy, and that you get a good vibe off of them, right? You get to know them a little bit before you go down that road.
That's very, very important. Thank you for sharing that. The next question, I think it's a question more for me. I'm a real estate agent, and I come across a lot of assignments. Now, a typical question here said, what is a good commission rate to pay to the agent for reassignment sales before closing? Now, my experience said, pay him whatever you think is worth it. I have few assignments in my hand right now. I have them for sale before the closing, and it's all over. I mean, pay him whatever you think is worth it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, well, then good for you. What do you think, Lyn?
Yeah, absolutely. It's no different than what is too much to pay for something? Well, if I'm going to make, just as an example, like interest, right? So if you're going to go with private money, right, then if that's the only money you have access to, but you're going to make $20,000 or you're going to make $30,000 by paying 8%, well, who cares, right? Or 12%, who cares? You still made $20,000, you're still up, right? So this is the same thing. As long as you're making money, if you don't do it, you're gonna get zero. If I do it, I'm getting $20,000. So to me, it's a no-brainer. You just do it, right?
True. Next question here is regarding property management. How much does it cost you? Do you absolutely need to have them?
Yeah. Okay. So that's an interesting one. So I started off, like I said earlier, my first two properties, I didn't live in the area where I was investing. And so I had to figure something out. So I got a property manager. I bought in 2012, when I bought my first three properties, she was managing those as well, and everything was going good and all was great. But then I think she grew a little too fast, or I'm not sure exactly, but things started to go south. And I thought, okay, this isn't working out. What am I going to do? And so I made the decision to bring it in-house, and I would hire my first employee. So in 2013, and I'm going to say May of 2013, I hired my first employee, and she was managing. Now I was closing on 2 more properties in May. So she was now going to be managing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She was going to be managing 7 properties. So that worked out really well. I kept increasing the number of properties that I had, and she kept managing them all. She was actually an employee of mine for 5 years and doing a fabulous job until she got ill and couldn't do it anymore. So then I went back to, okay, what am I going to do? So I went back to hiring another property manager. And well, some of my staff took over for a while, and that wasn't working too well. Some of my maintenance crew, and it wasn't working that well. So I decided, okay, I'm going to outsource again. I'm going to try that again. So I found somebody to outsource it to, and I had it there for 3 months. It didn't work out. I brought it back in-house. So it's back in-house again. I find that I can manage things better when they're my own employees, because I can train them my way. I can, the way I want them to work, and so on. So how much do we pay? Typically, where I invest, it's typically about 10% of your revenue.
Excellent. I had a few properties in Kitchener-Waterloo in Cambridge. All of them were property with property management. They gave me peace of mind, and they would fix everything, get the call from the tenant. So that was worth it. I think at that time I was paying $100 per property. So that was well worth it. Now, if the property are far away, like 3 hours away, absolutely 100% I suggest you to do that. Now you're saving peace of mind for yourself, and that's worth it. Don't try to drive 3 hours to your tenant to change a bulb and come back. That's crazy.
No, that's right. That's right. Exactly. That's what, me too. Like it's in-house, but they're my employees, right? They live in minutes. I don't take tenant phone calls. I don't deal with any of that stuff. And I don't wish to, I don't want to, okay. I don't want to get a phone call at 12 o'clock at night.
Absolutely. Following the joint venture idea, do you who pays for renovations? Like 100% of renovations is paid by you, by him, or is split? How does it work?
So the way that it works is that if we're using the 2-strategy combo or the BRRRR strategy, so for that, the money partner comes with the money up front for the down payment. We typically close for cash, and we do, they also come up with the money to renovate. And so the way that I have it done is once it's all renovated, all is done, then we refinance. And all of my deals have always been 100% like a perfect BRRRR. So meaning all of the money is pulled back out, and we have money left over in our pockets. So my partners are, they love this strategy because, after a few months, they get all their money back. So if we bought a property for $50,000, they put an extra 40 for repairs and stuff. So you're all in for 90, and you refinance, and you're getting $120,000 on your refinance, or 110,000. Well, so you've got actually, yeah, it was probably, that one there was probably around 110. So you're getting back so the person bringing in the money, their money is only tied up for a few months, and then they get all of their money back, and we split the difference, right? We leave some money in the bank just for in case of emergencies and stuff, and then split the difference. So yeah, that's how I got mine set up. And so then it's an infinite return on investment because none of us have any money in the deal.
Yep, absolutely. I've done the joint venture. I step in with zero down from my own pocket, and I got 50%. I had another deal with 15%, like 12% with zero down from my pocket. Sometimes I chip in some money there. It doesn't really matter. With joint venture is whatever you make it. And then it comes to the expenses. Who's going to pay for insurance per month? Who's going to pay for upgoing, like continuous upgrade to the house if it's needed? So these are the things that you have to write down on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter how friendly you are with your partner. If it's your cousin, if it's your brother, write it down, because down the road you're going to forget, and that would create a lot of confusion and frustration. So that was my experience. Now, I think you're running past 8 o'clock. Lyn, I have to bring you back here. That's your fault because you know a lot. But I really appreciate you participating and sharing and your experience. Tell us how we can find your book.
Yeah, so the book is on Amazon. And like you said, it's called No Money, No Problem. I've got it on the back here. So No Money, No Problem. It looks like this. So make your first $1 million with real estate. And it talks about the secrets to my millionaire method revealed, which I've actually told you some of my secrets here.
I'm going to bring you back here to tell us exactly, like personally, just looking at the cover, I have many questions that I want my audience to listen and understand and take advantage. But from now till the moment I bring you back here, maybe that's a good opportunity for them to go buy the book and read it. Is there any phone number or any email if anyone has a question, they can get back to you?
Yeah, so you can contact me at oh gosh, I know what I'm going to say. You know what? I'll give you my personal one instead because I can never remember the other one. So let me just see if it comes up here. Maybe not. So yeah, Lyn, Lyn .Lebeau, Lebeau at live.com.
Okay, so I'm going to type it in the chat. So just bear with me. Lyn,
I think the other one's book at lynlebeau.com, if I have it right.
You don't speak French by any chance, do you?
I do.
Oh oui? Tu viens de quel coin?
Non, je viens de Timmins, Ontario. Donc,
oh, c'est bien, c'est parfait.
Ontario, there's about population, about, I don't know, 35-40% of the population speaks French up in Timmins.
Oh yeah, okay. Good, okay. I practiced my French, finally. All right, so I just put how can we contact Lyn? Okay, I put the email address, just email her and open up the conversation and you can go from there. Anyone wants to call me, my phone number is always there, 647-407-4049. My email is very easy, it's deltaland123@gmail.com. My wife is always asked, why you put Delta Land? That's nothing to do with you. Well, it's easy to pronounce. It doesn't matter where you call. Delta Land is Delta Land. So it's deltaland123@gmail.com. I'm here to help you guys. Thank you very much, Lyn, again for coming up here. And it was a real pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Take care.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.